guys, welcome back to Wine Over Books with your girl Kay. So as you can see by the title, we are reviewing the 7th installment to the Cartel series. Before I get started, I know you guys want to have back-to-back videos. Unfortunately, right now, I'm unable to be consistent in uploading. I have so much going on. And, the devil is just busy right now, so I can't upload and film as I want to, unfortunately. Your girl is just grieving. I had 2 deaths in my family, so I'm just taking my time with everything, so just bear with me. Hopefully 2023 is a better year. But I will say the good news is most of the books that you guys requested I do have. So I have the LaToya Watkins book, Parish. I got the What You Owe Me by B.B. Campbell. I have Money Over Everything. I have Money Devil. What's the other one? The one I didn't get was the Tracy Jones Best Friend. And then Deception Uncovered, that one is coming. And then Blessings by Beverly Jenkins. So they're coming, guys. Some of them I have, some of them are coming. But let's get into the video. So I have my notes actually on my phone. So let's pull it up. Hold on. I read this book a while ago. I was supposed to do this review, but it didn't happen. Alright, so anyways, we left off where in book 6, Carter was having a meeting with the cartel, right? So, let me say the cartel, the Illuminati. And he really entertained the meeting with the Illuminati because he wanted to get Miamor out of jail, right? So right now, Carter is in India. He agreed to the Illuminati deal because of, again, with hopes of getting Miamor out of jail, right? So the reason why they think that they can get Miamor out of jail is because the DA who tried her case took bribes from other criminals. So basically, long story short, they're gathering up evidence to blackmail the DA to let Miamor out. So that's why Carter is, in the deal, right? So Miamor was sentenced to 15 years. She's in jail. She's doing her time. Well, she's doing her time. She's not allowing the time to do her. Everybody know who Miamor is. So, her clout status is up there, right? And at the same time, when we left off in book 6, Breeze was supposed to be watching Monroe Jr. and Carter's son, right? CJ. So, long and behold, remember Breeze got arrested, right? So, everybody thinks Breeze has the children. Breeze got arrested, and long story short, Breeze is going to jail, right? The reason why Breeze is going to jail is not anything that she did, because she's basically tax evasion. She was spending money, the cartel money. The reason they couldn't get Carter, the big boss, so they went after Breeze, right? So Breeze is going down for basically being affiliated with her family, right? So she refused to give up Carter, and she's being sentenced to 3 years, right? So she's like, damn, like, what is she gonna do? Also, remember, sorry guys, I'm a little under the weather too. Breeze is pregnant as well. So she decided, her lawyer was able to get her 72 hours. Excuse me, guys, let me get some water. All right, I'm back. All right, so her lawyer was able to get her 72 hours outside the jail so she could get her affairs in order, right? So she goes back to the house. She wakes up Monroe Jr. and CJ, right? And she tells them, like, yo, listen, I wish it wasn't like this. I'm going to jail. This is what it's about to be. She teaches them how to shoot a gun. She tells them that they have to be strong. She tells them that they have to look out for one another. She tells them everything about their family, who their fathers are, And I forgot how old they are. Let me see if I wrote it down. I didn't write it down, but basically she lets them know that they're gonna have to grow up faster than what they normally have to do. They have to be bigger boys, and basically that, this is the business that their family in. So the boys are sad, they're scared, but you know, Monroe is on the type of time when he's gonna protect CJ, and they already know what it is. Both boys are very smart, right? So Breeze, she goes to turn herself in, right? The reason why the boys have, as you know, the boys have no other family. They have other family, so they have the Monroe has the grandfather Emilio. As you know, Carter is not Emilio's grandson, but since the indictments came down, the arrest and all that, Emilio had went off the grid. And then, you know, Zaire shot himself in the head when Breeze found out that he snitched and all that, but he didn't die. So Breeze left him. Monroe, sir, is dead. Everybody in the cartel, basically in the family, is dead except for, at this point, Carter, Breeze, Emilio, right? And then the two sons. So Breeze is like, damn. So Breeze, before she turns herself in, she drops the kids off at the social services office, right? And she's brokenhearted. So the district attorney who's trying the case, who wants Carter, he really wants Carter. So he's like, damn, all right, bet. He goes to the social service office after Breeze leaves, right? Breeze and the lawyer leaves. So he's thinking that he could go talk to Monroe and CJ to get them to tell him where Carter is hiding, right? So he's basically using the boys as pawns in order to catch Carter. So the attorney general ends up going into the room where Monroe and CJ is, right? I should pause real quick. Before he went in there, he was talking to the social worker, right? Well, let me see if I remember the social worker name. Hold on. Because she's important. Bernice. That's the social worker named Bernice, right? So the attorney general comes in. She realized something's off. Like, why is the attorney general, district attorney, all of them here for these two little boys? Something is up. So Bernice, I'm not going to spoil it yet. So Bernice is like, all right, she's a little hesitant, but whatever, right? So the attorney general goes into the room to talk to the boys. At first, he's trying to play all goody two-shoes, but the boys, off the strength of like who their dads are, they already know, they got senses that something ain't right, and he's playing too nice. Nobody's nice for no reason, right? So the boys wouldn't talk. The attorney general was getting pissed off. So the attorney general ended up grabbing Monroe up and pitting him against the wall. So CJ like, nah, you're not about to do that, bro. I'm about to defend my cousin. So CJ run up on him. You know, CJ little self, he was like 7'8". His little fist not doing that. So he run up on the attorney general though. He got heart. And he tried to hit the attorney. He fighting. And the attorney general push him. Once CJ get hit, he hit his head, so he started bleeding, he convulsing and stuff, right? So the social worker come in, she sees everything that's going on. Monroe is screaming, you killed CJ, you killed CJ, you killed CJ. So the attorney general threatens Bernice, basically saying that if you snitch and say what happened, you're gonna lose your job, and then you going down, and basically you supposed to say that CJ and Monroe was fighting. Monroe hit CJ, CJ hit his head, right? So when Monroe Monroe is pissed off. He trying to get out of the attorney general grip. So Monroe had tried to move, and the attorney general had grabbed his arm and twisted his arm, so that's how he hurt his arm. So Monroe is really pissed. So Monroe then, I forgot, he grabbed the object, I forgot what it was. It was either a pen or something. He grabs it and stabs the attorney general in the eye, right? And they arrested Monroe. Of course, Bernice lied, the attorney general lied. They arrested Monroe, and then from when they arrested him, Monroe was like, damn, now this is probably going to be the last time I see CJ, because he's getting arrested, and he doesn't even know what's going on with CJ, right? So CJ wakes up in the hospital 3 days later, right? The social worker Bernice tells him like it's her guilt. Like she knows she lied on these boys and she didn't tell the truth to save her job, so she's feeling guilty. So basically she's like, these boys, she think that she could, if she takes CJ home with her, that she's protected CJ and doing CJ a favor, right? So when CJ wakes up, She tells him like, yo, you're gonna go home with me, I'm gonna protect you. But CJ, the vibe that she's giving off, he's not with it, right? So he doesn't trust her. And then she's trying to get CJ so she's trying to establish a rapport or whatever, but it's not working. And CJ sees right through her, right? So Bernice plans to basically say that CJ ran away, right? So the way that she planned to get CJ to go to the home, CJ's supposed to be going to another home, but she basically planned it to where CJ escaped the hospital. She brought CJ home with her and whoop-de-woo, so his paperwork would get lost in the shuffle. But long and behold, she don't know who she messing with, right? So CJ also was like he would rather be in juvenile. Also, before Breeze went to jail and turned herself in, she told her lawyer to make sure that he looked for her grandfather, tell the grandfather what's going on so the grandfather could come back and get the boys, right? So the lawyer's also on that type of time and like seeking the grandfather, whatever, right? So now we back to Carter. So the Illuminati enlists Carter and other higher ranking people, right? And their plan is that they're coming out with a new drug, right? And this new drug is supposed to give the effects of cocaine, marijuana, basically relaxation, sleep, the ultimate high, all in one drug to do all the things that multiple drugs do, right? So they enlist Carter and other members that's high ranking in their respective parts, drug dealing and all that extra stuff, so they could sell the drug, right? So basically it's like a 6-month span. They want them to sell the drug so they could get the money before the FDA goes ahead and approve it. I mean, it's not 6 months, 8 months, right? So they're like, everybody's like, that's quick money. Everybody stands to make millions in 8 months before the drug becomes official. So they're like, all right, this easy money. They've been selling drugs all their life, so it is what it is. But Carter is a little wary as well, but he's focused on getting Miamor back. And there's another lady, I forgot, we're going to get to her name soon, right? At the same time, Carter has been calling Breeze, and Carter cannot reach Breeze. So it's like mad stuff going on. So Carter's like, why can't I reach Breeze? And then I'm like, and if I remember correctly, in the last book, when Carter had called Breeze and Breeze had the boys, Carter heard the police knocking in the door, and then the phone went dead. So I'm not understanding like how he doesn't think something's wrong. But I don't know. Anyways, so we back to Monroe Jr. So Monroe Jr., this really pissed me off because you know why? This happens in real life, right? So again, Monroe is a young boy. I forgot how old he is. Maybe was he 10 something, 10, 11, right? So Monroe gets arrested for stabbing the attorney general. He ends up getting appointed to a public defender, right? When he gets appointed to a public defender, he's young. He doesn't understand anything. And these public defenders, yes, they have a lot of cases, stuff like that. And they win their cases by basically forcing, manipulating the situation, telling these young boys to accept the plea deal. So the public defender, while they in court, pushing MJ to plead guilty. So and Monroe doesn't really understand what's going on, why he should plead guilty to something that he's not guilty. And the public defender basically like, if you plead guilty, you probably gonna get like 2 years, 3 years, or probation. So Monroe thinking like, all right, if I say what he says, I'm gonna get out. So the judge was like, all right, how do you plead? So Monroe was like, guilty. The judge, and this is the point where I'm like, yeah, these judges know how the public defender is, and it's what black and brown boys, right? The judge knew that MJ didn't know what he was pleading guilty to. He didn't understand what was going on. So the judge asked Monroe again, do you understand that what pleading guilty means? Monroe is looking at his public defender. The public defender looking at Monroe, and the public defender is like, just say yes. So Monroe's like, all right, yes. Then that's when the judge is like, all right, we sentenced you to 7 years. So Monroe was like, I don't understand. But it's already too late, and the public defender just get up. That pissed me off. He took advantage of this little boy. He coerced this little boy to say guilty just so he could move on to the next case. And it's sad to say this happens nowadays. I apologize if I sound like I'm yelling. Like I can't hear out this air because I have a cold. But that part really pissed me off, right? So now CJ CJ's with Bernice, and CJ is reliving the nightmares, right? So he's sent, as y'all know, CJ and Monroe both had got kidnapped at one point, right? So since that night, CJ never really talked about what happened. So him and Monroe both witnessed CJ witnessed his aunt and Monroe witnessed his mother being beaten to death because she refused to give up her nephew and her son, right? So CJ's having these nightmares and he wakes up in Bernie's house. So CJ decided that, you know, he's very wary. He's just suspicious of his new surroundings. He's like, he hasn't come out of the room since. So he's like, all right, it's late night. Bernice should be asleep. I'm about to go in the kitchen and sneak food. So he goes in the kitchen, sneak food. Bernice comes out, catches him. She's like, oh, you don't have to sneak food. I'm going to make you something. I'm going to make you some food. You're going to be safe here, right? So Bernice is a predator. So she makes him food. While she's making the food, CJ just senses something is off. So while CJ's sitting out eating the food or whatever, she comes over. Mind you, CJ's a little boy, and places her hands on his lap while he's eating. So CJ gets up and goes back to his room. So he reflects on, like, during that time, he knows something's off, like, why this grown-ass woman touching me? And CJ also is reflecting on how he never felt connected to his family when he came back. Now he lost all his family members because, you know, he went through a traumatic experience, right? And he had to bottle it up because he didn't want his family he didn't want to seem weak to his family. He didn't want to be vulnerable. He didn't want to seem like a problem. So him and Monroe bottled up their feelings. So he just decides that he is going to comply with all the commands because he associates complying with death. If he does not comply, he will die, basically. So that's his train of thought. And for a young boy to think like that, like, it's beyond traumatic. There's no words to put into that. Nobody should have to deal with that, especially a child. But unfortunately, his circumstances, the family that he grew up with, you know, CJ became a casualty of war, right? So now, Bernice is the type of social worker, which I hate these pedophile-ass social workers, who takes in kids, young boys, and she starts grooming them. So she is a molester. And she molests these little boys. She uses them. She uses their trauma to not their trauma. She went through trauma as a child, and she uses her trauma to justify her actions. So she was molested. So because she was molested, she's doing the same thing to these little boys, right? And CJ is sensing that, and he's conflicted with listening to his intuition because he's like, you know, she's being so nice to me, this, that, and third, right? So it's bothering him, but CJ also knows the reason why something is wrong because when he was kidnapped, he was almost molested, right? He was almost molested by Baraka's men. Baraka men didn't go through the molestation because Baraka saw what happened and killed him. But at the same point, CJ was almost molested, so he knows what's up, right? So, my sinus is going on. Sorry, guys. So the next day, whatever, Bernice knocks on the door, tells CJ like, hey, you know, we're going to the mall, change your clothes, we about to get you some new clothes, we're gonna do some new things, right? So she tells CJ, get dressed. So CJ thinking like she about to leave, close the door or whatever. She's standing there. So CJ turns around and is getting goes undresses his clothes. He's trying to dress fast. And she comes in and was like, "Oh, let me help you, CJ. Let me help you." So CJ's worried. Next thing you know, she start touching his penis, right? So CJ is on alert, flight or flight. He decides to fight. So he grabs the closest thing near him. He starts swinging. I don't know if that's the sound, whatever. And he swings. He hits Bernice, knocks Bernice's ass out, right? All he saw was a whole bunch of blood. So CJ decides that he's gonna follow his instinct and he's gonna run. So as CJ is running, a man grabs him. Mind you, they're in the house still, and sticks a needle in his neck, right? So I'm like, what the hell is going on? So Einstein, which is Bree's lawyer, the lawyer that she told to look for Estes, which is the grandfather, tracks down Estes, right? And tells Estes what's going on. So Estes decides that he's gonna go to the social worker, right, and get Monroe Jr. He had no intentions on rescuing CJ. He just wanted his grandson, because as you know, Carter had business with Estes, but they never really cared for one another because he is Bree's father's bastard child, whatever. So he was gonna leave CJ there and just take MJ. So when they pull up or whatever to the house, they're like, "What's going on?" So when he get there, he sees that Bernice. He sees Bernice in the room, what CJ did to Bernice, and realized like Bernice was about to molest CJ. So he slaps Bernice up and was like, "Yo, where is Monroe?" So Bernice tells Estes like Monroe was in juvie. He tells him what happened, and Estes threatens Bernice and basically said that, you better make sure that my grandson is taken care of in juvie, and if you don't, I'm coming back for you. And then he was gonna leave CJ, but he realized that he can't leave CJ in that condition. So he takes CJ with him, right? So now, as Estes rescues CJ, he realized that he could use CJ, right? And I'm just like, CJ can't catch a break. Like, it's like, damn. So CJ is happy to see a familiar face, but he also knows, he feels the vibe that Estes is not really rocking with him, right? So CJ basically is like, he's gonna comply with Estes so he don't have to, keep moving from place to place. He's gonna, if CJ has to be a servant, CJ's gonna be a servant, right? But Estes has been very cold towards CJ. CJ basically said he's gonna accept whatever treatment comes his way. He's gonna oblige. And again, CJ is very young, so Estes takes CJ back with him. Was they in the Dominican Republic? I think it was the Dominican Republic. Takes him back to the Dominican Republic, right? So Estes is hosting a party for rich people and all this extra stuff. So Estes basically tells CJ, "You're gonna have to earn your keep if you want to stay here." So as CJ's working the party, he's putting up tables and this, that, and the third. He noticed that the rich people are all fair skinned. CJ has dark skin, as you know, his father's dark skin. So as CJ's cleaning the plate, the tables and stuff like that, he goes to clean the tables of where the rich kids are sitting, and one of the rich kids decides that he's going to try to mess with CJ. So CJ had a whole bunch of stuff in his hand, getting ready to walk. The kid trips him. CJ and the kid start getting in a fight, and CJ fucks him up. Sorry. So, Estes is mad. The kid that CJ beat up is supposed to be fighting in some underground fight, right? And now Estes like, "Oh, you just messed up. Now you about to learn how to fight, and you fighting in the pit since you don't listen." And I'm like, damn, CJ really cannot catch a break. So now we're going on to Monroe. Monroe's in juvie. Everybody know who Monroe is. off the strength of his family's name. And Breeze did say, you know, if there's anything that you do in life, your name rings bells in these streets. So people's gonna try you off the strength of your name. So again, Monroe's a little older. So Monroe's in a cell with Joey. Joey's like a little soft. I don't want to call him a punk, but Joey's like soft. He's not a fighter. So Joey kept getting picked on by some dude named Roach and all that extra stuff, right? So and Monroe's like, yo, when you gonna stand up for yourself? Like, you my bunkmate and you get punked up and beat up. Like, come on, like, you gotta stand up for yourself. And then Roach also went around the juvenile detention center saying, oh, yeah, I know who Monroe is. He's a diamond. So Roach tried to punk MJ in the cafeteria, and you know, he got the best of Monroe. So Monroe decided to take that L, and backed out. But long and behold, Monroe's like, he's not gonna let anything slide. So Monroe decides that he's gonna steal a fork from the kitchen when he went to, you know, wash dishes or whatever. And then he tells Joey that, you know, they're gonna get Roach back. And basically, he tells Joey, like, yo, you need to have my back. If you don't have my back, it's a wrap for you. Long story short, right? So while they go to this class, all of us in the class, this is how they catch Roach by himself. Because Roach usually, excuse me, Roach usually runs in a gang, right? So Joey decides that he's going to fake a seizure. He really faked that seizure really good. And next thing you know, Monroe jumps up and starts stabbing Roach up, right? So Joey then jumps in and has MJ back. So both of them went to solitary confinement. And then from Joey showing his loyalty to Monroe, Monroe decides that he's going to vow to have Joey back. And that's how both of them became close in juvie. And they've been loyal ever since. So, you know, Monroe is doing all right, right? So then, again, Carter's still trying to reach Breeze. He's becoming frustrated, right? So the lady that I was telling you guys about that's a little wary of the Illuminati plan along with Carter, her name is Aneri, right? So both of them, it's like something's not adding up with this deal. They decide that they're gonna seek answers in order for their mind to be put to rest, right? So the main person in charge, excuse me guys, I'm so sorry, is named Ghost. So Carter texts Ghost like, yo, can I come over? We need to talk. So he goes over to talk to Ghost. Sorry, hold on, let me make sure. Carter and Aneri decide that they're gonna go searching for answers, right? So Carter went back to his little room, whatever, and that's when he gets a text from Ghost, right? The text from Ghost says, come over. So Carter's like, all right, you know what I'm coming over for. When he goes over to Ghost's house, which is like a little cabin type thing, he sees Aneri, right? And Ghost is dead. Aneri standing over him with a knife. So Carter starts freaking out on Aneri, like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? Why would you kill Ghost? He was my only chance of getting Miamor out of prison. And Aneri's like, you know, back up before I cut your ass too, right? Aneri goes to tell Carter that the drugs that they're pushing, that they want them to push in the community is like pushing out crack. So, you know, when crack hit the black and brown communities, you know what happened to our people, right? So, excuse me. So, basically, Aneri had went into the lab where it's the drug is based upon, from a flower, like it's produced from a flower, right? So when Aneri had went back into the lab, she had swiped the flower and she sent the flower to her people. So when her people sent her back the information, she found out that the drug gives a good high, but it also makes people go crazy. And when the people go crazy, they start dying, right? So Aneri, when she went to go talk to Ghost about what her people sent her back, she confronted Ghost and Ghost tried to kill her. So she killed Ghost in self-defense. So she poked him up. Long story short, she also did some research on Ghost and found out that Ghost is an ex-politician who wants to put the drugs out only in black communities, like what President Reagan did with the crack epidemic. and he wants to use our people to kill off our people, right? So Ghost is, long story short, Ghost is working for the government, and at any time, you know, everybody who they recruited to push the drugs could have been set up because they work from the government. So it was a point where Ghost had showed them a chart, right? And in the chart, there was certain neighborhoods or respective communities that was outlined specifically for the drugs to be pushed in, right? And there was communities that was redlined, so basically that's where the drugs cannot push. So if you could guess right, the drugs were where they did not want the drugs to go was all white community, because if you push drugs in a white community and the white community take it and all these white people start dropping dead, there's going to be questions raised. But if you push drugs in black and brown communities, they start dropping dead, nobody cares. So nobody knows that Ghost is dead, so Carter and Aniri decide that they're gonna come up with a plan. So Aniri decides that she's gonna act like Ghost, start sending out texts, whatever, and they're gonna use his phone to gain access to his connections. So Aniri and Carter decide that they are going to rob the scientists of the drug seeds, right? They need the seeds to grow the drugs. They need the male seed, the female seed, and they will make the drugs and start selling the drugs in suburban areas, right? Again, time has passed. Carter still hasn't heard from Breeze. Breeze hasn't heard from Carter. Miamor hasn't heard from nobody. CJ's with Estes. Monroe is in juvie. The shit is going off, right? So Aniri and Carter, after they get everything that they need, they sneak back into the States, and Aniri decides that she's gonna put Carter onto her PI, right, private investigator, to find his son, right? So at the same time, Breeze is doing her time in jail, and we ain't get there yet. I'm gonna just wait. Breeze is doing her time in jail, right? So this Carter decides that he's also gonna take a trip to the DR to get himself organized. So CJ now is the next night. CJ has to fight in the pit, right? CJ fights in the pit. He ends up winning the fight, and Estes is proud of him, right? And Estes offers CJ the opportunity to fight every week for money, and CJ happily accepts. CJ has a lot of pent up anger. And CJ likes fighting, and he needs a way to release because he's bottling up all his emotions. He doesn't talk. He's been through so much traumatic experience, like he needs an outlet. And fighting is his outlet. He's good at it, right? So Estes decided he's gonna start giving CJ professional training, and realized that CJ is his meal ticket, and that he could really use CJ for the good. They could help one another, right? So now we back to Breeze. So Breeze is pregnant. She's in jail. Everybody know who Breeze is, and Breeze has also been the child that has been sheltered from the crime life. She hasn't really gotten her nails dirty or whatever, right? So there was two inmates that tried to recruit Breeze, but Breeze just wants to do her time. She doesn't want any problems. But the problem with that is that people feel like the inmates feel like Breeze is better than them because she doesn't want to join any gang or whatever, right? So Breeze was gonna take a shower, and some inmates ran up on Breeze. They start beating her up, and again she's pregnant, right? So the two girls that she first talked to, named Sanchez and Perez, had warned Breeze like, yo, you know, girls are gonna try you because they think you think you better than them, you better get with a gang. So when the girls start jumping on Breeze, Breeze is laying there, right? Again, Breeze, at this point, Breeze is 8 months pregnant. Sanchez and Perez comes to the rescue, right? Breeze gives birth to her baby girl in the jail. So the baby wasn't breathing. They had to rush the baby to the hospital. So Breeze wakes up and she's unconscious. I mean, at that point, she lost too much blood and she felt unconscious. So when she wakes up, she's in the infirmary and she's like, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?" They tell her that the baby was rushed to the hospital, but they're not telling her anything, right? So Breeze decided that she's going to take a razor blade. She found a razor blade in the infirmary, and she swallowed the damn razor blade because she swallowed the razor blade, that's the only how she could get transferred to the hospital where she could be closer to her baby, right? So now Breeze undergoes surgery, When she wakes up from surgery, there was a nurse there to help her, and the nurse was like, she told the nurse like, my baby was born in here. Is my baby alive? I want to see my baby, right? So Breeze decides that, you know, she had named the baby Aurora as well. She named the baby Aurora, right? So Breeze decides that, you know, she's gonna try to find her baby by any means. So the nurse sees that, you know, Breeze is desperate and she's just a mother trying to see her daughter. So she sneaks Breeze into the pediatric unit to see her daughter, and Breeze is happy, right? So I'm like, all right. So after Breeze also was begging the nurse after like Breeze spent like a couple days in the hospital, right? So Breeze realized what kind of person the nurse is. So she begged the nurse. She's like, I know there's a lot for you to take over. This is who I am. Oh, I keep yawning. This is who I am. I could pay you. Just please take my daughter in. Once I get out of jail, I'll take my daughter back and I'll compensate you. The nurse is like, oh, no, I can't do that. So Breeze feels helpless. She's like, damn, my daughter's about to be raised in a system, so she's broken. So that something inside of Breeze breaks then, and she's never the same after that, right? So Breeze goes back to the prison, and basically the same girls who helped her made her queen, and basically Breeze decides that she's gonna use that queen status because they know who she is, and Breeze just gets revenge on the girls who jumped her, right? So we back to CJ. CJ's been winning on his fights. He's getting on Este's good side. Este invites CJ to a table with the big boss one day. You know, he puts a good suit on CJ, the whoop-de-woo, right? CJ decides, like, you know, it's a lot for him to take in. So CJ has stepped outside to get some air. Long and behold, I don't know if y'all remember Javier. There was Javier and there was another big fat dude, but Javier wasn't really fond of the cartel, right? So when CJ stepped outside to get some air, he overhears Javier and the fat dude talking about how they gonna kill Estes. So CJ goes and runs and tells Estes, you know, as Javier and the dude is leaving, that, yo, Estes, these two gentlemen are trying to kill you. So Este was like, thank you, CJ, for telling me. So CJ's like, you're not gonna go after them? Este is like, nah, the element of surprise. So later that night, Este wakes CJ up out of his sleep. They're riding in the car, they're going up a mountain. CJ thinks that Este is about to kill him. When they get to the mountain, right, he sees Javier and the fat dude. So Javier and the fat dude wondering, you know, like, why we up here? So Este is like, oh, you guys are not conspiring to kill me. They're like, oh, no, CJ's lying, da-da-da. CJ's like, no, I'm not. But woo-de-woo. Este shoots one of them and kicks the other one off the mountain, boom, dead. So CJ had to witness that. Then Este was like, you know, take your ass back to sleep after that. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So, Miamor, I don't know. So then, see, from that incident, CJ feels like death will come back to him, karma will come back to him, because he told Estes about the men trying to kill him. So this is what Miamor and Carter tried to steal CJ from. They didn't want CJ to witness that life, but CJ realized witnessing that life brings out the inner gangster and killer instinct out of him, and he likes that. I'm like, oh my goodness, right? So 3 years has passed upwards from that point. Breeze is released from jail, right? Breeze then goes to see Monroe in jail. She learns that Monroe is in jail, right? She goes to see Monroe, and then she goes to see the social worker. So Monroe's basically telling Breeze, like, you know, it's not your fault. It is what it is. Like, you stay up, auntie. I love you, da-da-da. So when she goes to see the social worker, Bernice is freaking terrified. So Breeze hadn't had any contact with her grandfather, so Breeze didn't know what Bernice did. So once Breeze showed up to Bernice's office, making a scene like, oh, I need to see the social worker, Bernice is terrified. So she agrees to see Breeze. And she tells Breeze that Estes came to take CJ and that her daughter is in foster care. And then Breeze ends up sneak in the address to where Aurora is once Bernice gets up and leave the folder on her desk. Not. Anyway, so Breeze decides that she's gonna go to the address where her daughter's at. She pulled up to the address to where her daughter's at. Guess who adopted the daughter, right? The nurse. So the nurse decide who had helped Breeze in the hospital see Aurora. Basically like, oh, why you can't be here? Aurora's my daughter. She's the only mother. I'm the only mother that Aurora knows. And Breeze is like, yo. The girl's name is Steph. The nurse's name is Steph. Breeze is like, yo, this is my daughter. I will compensate you, but I'm coming for my daughter. And Breeze is like, I could just run up on you right now and take a role, but I want to do it the correct way. I want to do it the right way, right? So Breeze meets Aurora and tells Aurora, like, hey, Aurora, I'm your real mother. This is not your mother. I'm coming to get you. And Breeze threatens Stephanie, right? So I'm like, yeah, Breeze, go ahead. So Breeze has to, as you know, when Breeze got locked, everybody was locked up and all that extra stuff, and Carter went to hiding. You know, all her accounts are frozen. She's basically broke. She has nothing. So Breeze has to get herself an apartment. She's staying at a little halfway house. She has to get herself a job so she can go to family court and show the judge that she's a fit mother, right? So Breeze then, after she goes to see Steph, she goes to see Miamor in jail. And Miamor is like, what you doing here, Breeze? And then Breeze puts Miamor onto everything. So Miamor this whole time thinking that, you know, her son is, Breeze is raising her son. So Miamor tells Breeze, like, you know, you're going to get Aurora back. Everything's going to be okay. Miamor is worried about her damn son, but she's also worried about Carter as well. And, you know, because Breeze is freaking out. Miamor is just calm, cool, and collected. But, you know, inside she's dying. So once Breeze leaves, Miamor sends her one last kite to my girl Aries. If you don't remember Aries is the last, other than Miamor, is the last standing member of their crew who is out. You know, she's the Caribbean one. And she has a son, and you know, Aries been living a low life. But long story short, Miamor enlists Aries for one final hit. And Aries, you know, Aries receives the kite. She already know who it's from. She deciphers the message. And Aries already knew that one day Miamor would come back to pull her back into that life. And she decided that she's going to prepare herself for the hit, right? So basically, Miamor summoned Aries to go to Stephanie's house, which is the nurse, and to get Aurora. So long story short, Aries is like, you know, if she pull up to Stephanie's house and Aurora is doing good with this lady and Stephanie passed the test, she'll leave Aurora with Stephanie. So Aries pulls up to the house. She starts, you know, she sneaks into the house. Stephanie wakes up. She's thinking Aurora is trying to get something out the kitchen, right? So when Aries pull up on Stephanie's like, oh my God, you know, whatever, telling Aries, like, get out of my house, this, that, third. Aries gives Stephanie an ultimatum. She's like, I could kill you right now, or I could take Aurora, right? So Aries basically wanted to see if Stephanie would fight for Aurora, like if she would risk her life to save Aurora, right? So when Stephanie gave in and accepted Aries' terms, Aries was like, you a little pussy, right? So Aries tells Stephanie, like, yo, give me Aurora's birth certificate. You're gonna continue to collect the checks that the state is sending to you every month. You gotta do what you gotta do. But if you tell, it's gonna be a problem, right? So that was that. So Breeze now is working at a little a little diner, right? So Aries pull up on Breeze with Aurora. So I'm trying to figure out, like, you know, how Aries find Breeze, but you know, if they want to find you, they will find you, right? So Aries pull up on Breeze with a brand new Benz and $100,000 in cash, right? So Breeze is is like, what you doing here? Aries tell Breeze like, you know, Miamor sent me to get Aurora back. Everything's taken care of. You can leave to stay. You know, you don't have nothing to worry about. Live your life. This is for you. We love you. Da da da. Because you know, Breeze and Aries have put their differences aside or whatever, right? So Breeze also decides that, you know, she whatever happened between her and Zaire, she's still a little salty about that, but she never stopped loving him. So she also decided that she didn't want to be the mother that prevents her child from knowing the father. So she decides that she's going to introduce Aurora to Zaire. So because he deserves to know his daughter, which I respect, right? Because you know Zaire was dumb happy. Again, Breeze hasn't seen Zaire in years, so she doesn't know what kind of state he's in from the gunshot. All she knows is that he survived, but she doesn't know his condition. But she's thinking in her head like, you know, he should have made some progress by now, right? So Breeze decided that she's gonna go see Zaire in the little rehabilitation center. And then she goes to see Zaire in the room, and Aurora's with her. Aurora is asleep, and she sees Zaire for the first time. Like half his face is blown off. Like he had mad facial reconstruction. He's missing teeth, and Zaire doesn't have any memory. He remembers what's going on currently, but nothing from the past. Right? Memory loss. So, when she pulls up, Zaire, you know, Zaire's up, and, you know, he's in the room with his new girlfriend. So Breeze is taken back like, oh, da da da, like, you know, in her head, she's like, damn, he got a new girlfriend. She's seeing the interaction. The new girlfriend is the nurse that took care of Zaire, right? So, you know, Breeze steps into the room. Although Zaire can remember, he feels the connection to Breeze, right? But Breeze refuses to tell Zaire once she sees his condition. She refuses to tell Zaire about Aurora, who she really is, right? So she basically tells Zaire like, you know, I'm a friend. Zaire tells her like, you know, I don't remember you, but I feel love for you. So his girlfriend is watching, you know, the whole interaction. Breeze decide that she doesn't want to disrupt his life. So Breeze decide that she's gonna take her daughter, raise her daughter her own, and that's it. So as she's walking out, Zaire's girlfriend comes running out. So she confronts Breeze and is like, oh, you his wife. So Breeze is like, yeah, I his wife. Please don't tell Zaire who I am. Don't tell Zaire about his daughter. The girlfriend put two and two together, and the girlfriend was like jealous because she think that Breeze is gonna come back in and take her spot. So Breeze is like, you know, I don't have no intentions on trying to come back and take Zaire from you or disrupt your life. And because if I tell Zaire, if I open this door, I gotta tell him everything, and I have to tell him that, you know, about his actions. So, and she wants Zaire to live a good life despite everything. So she also tells her girlfriend, she's like, you know, if I tell Zaire everything, you guys and him will never work. And the girlfriend's like, why? And Breeze is like, because he'll love me. He'll always choose me over you. So Breeze is like, I'm doing you a favor by not saying anything. So I'm like, yeah, like, you right. Let me just make sure this still on, guys. All right. So I'm like, yeah, you right. So this Breeze decides, like, you know, she's gonna leave the cartel behind for good. She's gonna start her life with her daughter, and that's that. So Breeze is out of the picture. I'm like, damn, all right. So now we're almost done. So now Carter and Aneri, right? This is 3 years later. So Carter and Neri ends up pulling back up to the Dominican Republic to meet some connects, so, you know, they could start, you know, getting the drug issue so everything could go as planned, right? So, and Neri tells Carter like, oh, I should mention, I didn't mention this throughout the book, right? Throughout the book, because Carter got shot last time and, you know, his condition, Carter has been experiencing severe chest pain. Right? And especially, and it's the chest pain is evoked when he's experiencing stress, high volume of stress, anything to stress him out, right? So I should mention that he's been experiencing that and he's been hiding it. So back to what I was saying. Carter pulls up with Neri to Dominican Republic. They're gonna meet the Connects, and they decide to go to the pit. As you know, the pit is where CJ is fighting the Estes. So at the pit now, when Carter pulls up, the next fight is CJ and some dude. So Carter like, is that my son? So Carter calling CJ, interrupts the fight, pull them apart, and CJ is pissed off, right? So CJ's like, you not my dad. You haven't been here for me. Let me fucking go. I don't need you. This, that, and the third. So I'm like, oh, CJ, you wildin'. But I understand CJ because CJ been alone for most of his life, and he's been raised by Estes. So now Carter decides that he's pissed. So Carter pulls a gun on Estes because Carter's mad at Estes. Like, you have my son here fighting, and you didn't reach out to me. You didn't tell me anything, which is true. Like, Estes had a way of getting in contact with Carter. So the fact that you had his son there and you didn't say anything, that would piss me off too. I'll pull a gun on you too. So anyways, Carter pulls a gun on Estes, and that's when CJ goes off on Carter. Right? So CJ yells at him and was like, yo, stop telling Carter you could leave. You haven't been there for me. So as CJ is going off on Carter, again, Carter's have the high stress because it's chest pain. Carter feels in an intense state of agony. If you felt agony and anguish, that's worse than anger. And Carter cannot take the words that CJ's throwing out of him. Carter ends up collapsing to the floor in excruciating pain, and he falls in CJ's lap. CJ's there with him. Carter dies right in CJ's lap. I cried for Carter. I'm like, you get your son back, your son says it to you, and that's how you die? The king has fallen. And I was so mad. I'm like, that's how Carter dies? I mean, I'm glad he didn't die by getting shot, but that's how he dies? I'm like, they killed him off like that? CJ just got his father back, and the same day he gets father back, Carter dies, and the last thing CJ says to his father is some mean, hurtful stuff. You know how how the agony that CJ's feeling? So Estes tries to comfort CJ, and both of them, together is helping one another fill a void. Estes also at one point in time lost his son, and CJ became the son that Estes lost, and they form a bond, right? So, that really hurt my heart. I was just like, yo, CJ can't catch a break, right? So now Breeze returns to bury Carter, right? Miamor is informed of Carter's death, and she feels straight anguish. Miamor is dead inside. She doesn't know what to do with herself. She's not even thinking about her son. She's thinking about the love of her life. Her soul died with Carter, right? Miamor worshiped Carter. She worshiped the ground Carter walked on. So, it was a lot for Miamor. Miamor she's not the same. She's dead inside. You look at Miamor, you just see emptiness, right? So the prison allowed her to attend Carter's funeral because, that's her husband, right? So Carter and Miamor together was a dynamic duo. Carter is the one who taught Miamor how to love. Carter is Miamor's soul for her, right? Carter is the one who taught Miamor different, who opened up another world to her that Miamor thought that she would never have, right? And she would never be the same. She believes that Carter dying is her punishment for her actions, and she decides that, as she's looking at Carter in his casket, she's going to die so she could be with her man in the afterlife. And my thought process, I'm like, yes, I understand, you love this man with your heart and soul, and I would love to experience a love like that one day, with the exception that I never want to love someone that much more than I love myself. I never want to worship any man, any woman, or whatever that much to where, my whole soul dies with them, right? That's too much for somebody to give someone that much power over you. I refuse. I'm sorry. I can truly, deeply love someone with all my heart. They will be a piece of me, but I would never love someone more than myself, unless for whatever strange reason I have a child, right? Because that's just a lot. Like when you love I feel like, in my opinion, when you love someone more than you love yourself, right? They have more control over you. Like you're no longer living for yourself. You're living for this other individual, and you lose yourself. I want to love someone that much, but I also want to be myself and stand for them, and that's how I feel. I could be wrong, but I never want to love someone that much where God forbid they die before me, in order for me to feel whole and feel complete, that I need to kill myself. I can't. I'm sorry. Right? Grief, loss, especially when you lose someone that you love the most. Like, I've lost a lot of people in my life, a lot of close people, but I've never lost people that's really, really, really like my soul. Like, I've lost a lot of loved ones. I lost friends. That was my heart. But like, to that love right there, I've never lost. So I've never experienced that kind of anguish. But I would hope that when I do, God forbid, I know one day I would never want to kill myself to be with them in the afterlife. That's just how I feel. So anyway, and then Miamor's not even thinking of CJ. Like, she wants to kill herself. I'm like, you got a whole son to live for. Like, CJ is an image of you, Miamor. So CJ pulls, while Miamor's in the casket, CJ was like, Mom. Miamor turns around, was like, CJ, is that you? And she sees CJ with Estes, and she's worried because, she killed Estes' daughter, which is Bree's mother. So Miamor is trying to warn CJ, like, be careful of Estes. Like, she thinks Estes is going to use to try to harm CJ because, she killed his daughter. So, Taryn, that's Taryn. Taryn's the daughter, right? So, Aneri, this is Aneri, CJ, Carter and Aneri was cool for the 3 years, whatever. And Aneri approaches Miamor, and Miamor is on point, like, who this girl? Why you here? So Aneri tells Miamor, like, you could calm down or whatever. Before Carter died, he secured your freedom. Just be ready to go when I come for you. So Miamor sees that, Aneri's not a threat or whatever, right? So that's that. So now I'm like, all right. 3 years later, Carter dies. Now we fast forward. It's 10 years later, right? CJ is now 22. He's returning to Miami for a big fight. He became a professional fighter. And he's like, this is the first time he's been back to Miami since moving to DR with Estes. And he's worried that, he doesn't fall to the streets of Miami. That there's no one who's trying to hurt him because of his family, right? And he's praying that, everything goes well. So while Miamor is 10 years later, Miamor is in prison. Miamor took a girl under her wing. The girl name is Ash. It's her cellmate, and she's young, whatever, and Ash is getting out. So Miamor enlists Ash, like, yo, you gonna do this for me when you get out. I'm just giving you some cash. Go to Miami. Watch over my son. Don't let anything happen to my son, right? And she instructs Ash to locate Aries, tell Aries, give her money, and find her a place, right? Also, at the same time, Monroe is out of jail. He's running the streets of Miami just like his daddy, just like his uncles. And he sees CJ face on a billboard. So Monroe and CJ haven't seen each other in years. So basically Monroe's like, CJ, that's my blood, that's my cousin. He's coming to Miami. We both about to run the streets and rule the streets like we intend to do. and he wants to see if CJ wants to join him in the gang or whatever. And Monroe is still running with Joey, right? And that's how the book ended. I'm like, damn, like shit about to hit the fan. I don't know how many more books there is. I think it's 10. But this was book 7. If you read it, drop in the comments. I did like this book. I didn't like how Carter died. I didn't like the agony, the stress, the traumatization that CJ went through, Monroe went through, Breeze went through. I'm glad Breeze is now no longer in the life, and she's trying to make a life for herself, and her daughter. I want to see how Miamor gets out of jail because she's supposed to be serving 15 years. Oh, but technically speaking, Miamor will be getting out of jail because she got sentenced to 15 years. She was locked up. She did the first 3. That's 10. That's 13 years. So what, like 2 more years, right? So yeah, me and Mo about to get out of jail. But like I said, guys, I appreciate you guys coming in, supporting, watching the reviews, liking, sharing, commenting. Comment what you think. Like I said, I have the book recommendations from you guys. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 books. 7 recommendations. As you see, I named in the beginning of the video, I named most of the books. So I'm going to read them. I'm going to review them. I'm going to drop them. Again, just bear with me, guys. It's a difficult time. Hopefully 2023 is different, but I will drop more videos moving forward. It's just not going to be like 2, 3 videos like how I wish on a consistent basis. But anyways, thank you for the love, support. Like, share, subscribe. Your girl is out.